All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Bar911970. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. And it's been a couple of days since I decided to do a live show, and this one I think is just too important. So, as usual, I'm going to wait a second or two before people realize, because this is just a spur of the moment thing. And please share my videos if you appreciate them. Please make sure you like them and listen to what I have to say, because I'm just giving my point of view. And of course, remember, this is my opinion. Yours may vary, and that's okay. So we could see now that with some of the breaking news that has been happening is that Hillary has, well, basically they're reopening the file case against Hillary Clinton. Now, there's a lot of mixed feelings on this. There are plenty of people that are saying it's about time. There are plenty of people that are cautious about it, and you have every reason to be cautious. But I say this, at the very least, is a good starting point. I have been telling people for years on my channel that when your voices are heard, eventually, if you don't give up, people will listen. And this proves, at the very least, just by reopening the case. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. It could be the same thing. It could be a different outcome. We don't know. But the fact that they're pressured, and that's what it is, so much pressure from the people around the world who decided to refuse to stay silent. If this doesn't show you how change occurs, not by waiting for people in a corrupt system to do anything, because they won't, but when we the people decide enough is enough, things will get changed. Or at the very least, they will not just be closed and they walk away. And I think if you see some kind of corruption, you cannot stay silent anymore. I mean, you have the people, I mean, their motivations, you'll never understand somebody's true motivation. And to explain my motivation, I don't make thousands of dollars. I don't get paid by the government. I don't have anything other than the fact of I am so tired of being held down in this society where you're punished for being honest. You're punished for having integrity. You are rewarded for betraying people, for lying, for using money or currency as the ultimate motivator. And I am so tired of this corruption. I cannot believe that we were placed on this planet to be slaves for a corrupt system. Now, with that being said, I do have to say that this stuff happening a week before pretty much the election, I think may be a little too late, because unless Hillary is either stepping down or they force her to get out of the race, I mean, she's still in it. And that would confirm that if all of a sudden she ends up in office, that proves either the people are just fools and they want her in anyway, or it proves that the system is corrupt and it's rigged. And you could see many videos where you see people, and they're on camera. I don't understand how they don't understand this. But they're stuffing the ballot boxes. Now, what's on those, I don't know, because they don't show that, but we're assuming that it's people stuffing it for Hillary, because they wouldn't need to do that with Trump at this point. Now, I want to let people know my stance on this whole thing, if you haven't seen my videos before. I believe the entire system is corrupt. To me, Trump is going to be the lesser of two evils. But like they say, the lesser of two evils is still evil. Now, obviously, keeping somebody like Hillary out of office is a good step. And the fact that people are becoming aware of the corruption, especially in our news media and in our government, that's eye-awakening, because there have been plenty of people that have been woken up. And some of these people were probably ones that were mocking people like me and others who 4 or 5 years ago were talking about this stuff way before the majority seemed to have realized it. Because you need real eyes to realize. But I think we have to be careful here, and this is why I talk about things like slavery. If you think about just the basis of the movie The Matrix, what is the basics of the movie Matrix? It's basically using the people as energy to keep the system going. Now, if you replace the robots with the government, what is it that we do? We spend our existence working to create a currency so we can buy products that keep us basically in our homes for the most part, especially if you are below middle class, which is the majority of people around the world, and you spend your whole life working for a system while very few profit off of our labor. And they use a fake currency as your reward for doing work for them. We build the roads. We build the bridges. We teach in our schools. We're the ones that fight the wars. We do all the dirty work, while the few up top are reaping in the rewards of our labor. And our rewards are to have bad backs, to have mental problems, depression, addictions to drugs, anger, violence, so they can live a happy life off of our energy, because that's what it is. If you think about comparing it to the Matrix, yes, they literally hook people up and drain them as a battery, but they're still using our energy. Our energy is our labor, and our reward is paper currency that they create and manipulate. And we spend our whole lives until we get so old and so decrepit and so our bodies deteriorate so much that we no longer serve a purpose anymore for them. So even if somebody like Donald Trump is the savior of all saviors, which I am not going to say at any moment is, he's definitely not Hillary Clinton, but he's no Jesus Christ either. What is the difference between, if you are a slave, what's the difference between a slave master who beats you and a slave master who treats you well? Now, obviously, you would like to be, if you're going to be a slave, you'd like to be treated well, but you're still a slave. And if you think about no matter who runs this government, some are going to be cruel and dishonest, and some might actually be nice. And maybe they're finally starting to understand, well, the people may revolt. They may want to murder us. I don't condone those things, but that could happen. So maybe their plan is all of a sudden, you know what? We can't hide this anymore. We've reached the peak of being able to hide this stuff. People are speaking up. They are eventually going to unify and unite, and they are going to go against us, and there goes our system. What can we do to stop it? And somebody might have said, well, what if we start being nice to them? What if we start pretending that we're exposing all of this fraud and letting people like Hillary Clinton and others be the scapegoats, the patsies? And let's put somebody in power, potentially, like Donald Trump, which everybody seems to love. But guess what? You'll still have to work tomorrow. There'll still be a Federal Reserve that we're borrowing money from. There'll still be currencies that are corrupt. You'll still have to go to work tomorrow. So the difference between a bad slave owner and a good slave owner is you're still a slave, you're just being treated nicely. And most people say, well, that's, if I'm going to be a slave, I'd rather get free ice cream and candy and have a vacation every now and then than to be owned by somebody who beats me every day. And of course, but you're still a slave. If Donald Trump ends up becoming president, do you think tomorrow you'll be able to go to the borders with all your possessions and just leave no problem? Do you think you'll be able to travel on the roads without needing registration? Do you think all of a sudden your birth certificate will be different and you will no longer have a birth certificate but a certificate of live birth? They're just making a happy slave master for you. And we're going to cheer it. And I've said time and time again that until you become your own master for yourself and your own life, if you depend on others, you're going to be suckered in. And this is what I strongly feel about all this stuff. Why is this stuff? You have to ask why. People are so afraid to ask why. Why is all this stuff happening? And if you think of it from an enemy's point of view, if you are a person in power, and I'm talking about the elites, the people that have billions of these currencies that can manipulate countries and governments, and they see that the people, no matter what they do now, no matter how much they've tried to pay out the media, no matter how many corrupt politicians and FBI agents and UN workers around the world have tried to deceive the people, that they are waking up in droves to the point where they cannot hide it anymore. And they say, all right, we could lose everything if we continue with our arrogance. What do we do to keep that from happening? And if all of a sudden they say, well, you know what, I guess we're going to have to throw some of the people under the bus. And we're going to have to make it like, oh, we're going to expose this corruption and we're going to get certain people to be these saviors that are going to give all this information, which, by the way, have been around for hundreds of years. People have known about corruption. Why all of a sudden it's coming out now is I think they've reached the peak of their ability to lie to the people because they're waking up in droves. And I think, and this is just my opinion, I could be absolutely wrong, and I hope I am, but I think they're doing this so this way you'll get a leader, potentially, that they didn't think anybody would take seriously. I think they allowed Donald Trump to get up so high is because they probably said, well, we definitely want Hillary Clinton. So who would be the one that would be the least of an adversary? Well, Donald Trump. No one will take him serious. He's a billionaire. Look at all the things he talked about with women over the years and how people view him. That's a joke. Let's let him rise up. And then all of a sudden, he started talking about things that maybe they didn't think they had control over. And at a certain point, you can't put a gun to his head because the people would riot. And it would confirm the very things that he speaks about. So maybe they decided, because even if you are the elitist of the elite, you can make mistakes. You can change your plans. You can have a plan and all of a sudden it just goes in a different direction. And smart people know how to change things. And I firmly believe they chose to have Hillary Clinton become the next quote-unquote leader to further their agenda. But because of all the things, because, you know, like they say, there is no honor amongst thieves. And when you become so arrogant, you become sloppy. And then you get to the point where you can't hide it anymore. And if they continued on this path, I mean, the people would revolt and probably start going around with pitchforks and, you know, torches, burning up every politician and every corrupt media person out there. And eventually, they might go to the elitist people. And what are they going to do? Spend the rest of their lives underground? I mean, they could, I'm sure. But maybe I think they're changing their strategy and saying, all right, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. So we're going to pretend that, oh, look at all this corruption being exposed, even though this stuff, I mean, you're going back to the days of Abraham Lincoln. And earlier beyond with the American Revolution and the things that were not told, and way before that. So this is not something brand new, but yet all of a sudden it's coming out now. So what I am suggesting to those who care, and those who appreciate my point of view, is to think in a bigger picture. Yes, I understand that Donald Trump is a better alternative than Hillary Clinton, no doubt. But you'll still have to work tomorrow. You'll still be using your dollars. You might get some more of them, but you ever notice when you are poorer, you tend to use your money more wisely, and the more money you make, the more you end up spending and the more you end up in debt? So yeah, you might make some more money. What are you going to do with it? Most people, you think all of a sudden they're going to care about gold and silver and things like that? They're going to go buy the latest TV and the latest iPhone. They're going to be right back into the system because it makes them feel good. So I keep telling people, and they don't want to believe in this. People ask me constantly, I have several videos talking about how is it you have to become free. If you think Donald Trump or anybody else is going to be your path to freedom, you're being led. You're just being led by a nicer person. And he may be sincere. He may be genuine. Who knows? I don't know his true intent. But he is working with lots of people that have been in the system for a long time. If he wants to talk about corrupt people in government, he'd have no allies on his side. All I'm saying is be careful about this. There are bigger alternatives. And even if you're being led down a better path, if you're being led, you're not guiding yourself. So maybe the things have changed. And I'll be very glad to say at least Hillary Clinton's not going to be in there. But if there's a wall that's going to be built, if there's going to be all these things that you think are going to help you, I mean, if you are a multi-millionaire drug cartel in, let's say, Mexico or South America or wherever, you think a wall's going to stop you when you can buy a plane? When you have money to manipulate politicians? There are plenty. You could see with these crisis actors and people in the media that you only have to pay them a couple of thousand fiat notes to get them to do whatever you want. Hell, there are people who will murder other people for a couple of fiat notes. So, and a quick thing, Dave said, you talk too quick for me to respond. Yeah, I'm Irish, English, and Italian, and I live in New York. We're famous for that. The one thing I can tell you is I don't respond to the comments mostly because it throws me off track. But when this re-uploads, create a dialogue. That's the best I can say. But yeah, because I've learned that there are a couple of people that will try and leave comments to try and get me, off the beaten track, so to speak. So don't take it personally. I appreciate each and every one of you who are writing the comments, but I want the comments to be a dialogue for you guys. I don't even look at them because I just want to stay on track. So please don't take offense to that, and I appreciate every one of you. So, with that being said, I'm not gonna make this video long. All I'm gonna say is, I'm glad to see that people's voices are being heard, and this is something that's very important. You want change in this world. You can't wait for other people to do it. You have to speak up. You have to lose your fear, because if millions of people start talking about the same corruption, what are they going to do? Off us all? It's not going to happen. But they can always give you that doubt, that fear. That's why they want you depressed. That's why they want you angry. That's why they want you stressed. That's why they want you poor. That's why they want you dependent. How can you be an individual saying you want freedom if you're expecting your freedom to come from somebody else's permission of what you can and cannot do, can and cannot say? That is not freedom. Freedom is taking the risk of knowing you could lose everything, but you can gain everything based on your own decisions. So all I can say is, if you think Donald Trump is going to be the answer to all of your problems, you're going to wake up November 9th very disappointed. But is he better than Clinton? Of course he is. But it's still a corrupt system. Maybe they just want to change their thoughts so they don't get executed. I mean, think of it like you think about the basis of religion. You see all these priests to the point where it's a joke, where Catholic priests or other priests have molested children or sacrificed children throughout the histories, to the point where they make jokes about it. Like people make jokes about, all the side effects from medicines. And they call people like me and others to talk about natural things like sun gazing, if you do it properly, and other forms of, using things like, even they say that cannabis can help heal things when you extract the oil from it. Now, I don't know for a proof, I haven't done it, but they call people like us crazy, but yet they're okay with the fact if you read a side effect for something like arthritis, one of the side effects is possible death. That's not crazy. They condition people. But if you think about religion, and they talk about all this corruption in religion, and they say, oh, if you do all these things, you'll go to hell. Well, maybe that's to stop you from ever stopping them from what they're doing. Do as I say, not as I do. So, all I can say is, if you rely on others, you will never be free. If you choose to be silent, your voice will never be heard. If you live in fear, you will always be afraid. You will get what you give. So if you're afraid of fear, you will always have something to justify what you believe in. But this should at least show that we could put a spoke in their wheel, that we can actually make them change course, that what they thought would be a simple plot ends up being, at the very least, complicated. So we need to do more of that. So that's all I could say. If you appreciate my thoughts and my points of view and they resonate with you, and you want to be an individual instead of somebody that's relying on others to give you your quote-unquote freedom, and thinking Donald Trump or anybody in politics is going to be the answer, if you appreciate my points of view, thumb this up and share it, because lately I don't feel like most people care about what I have to say. I mean, I'm about to approach 30,000 subscribers, and I got my last video the other day had 200 views. That's not even 1% of my viewers. I don't understand it. It seems like the more subscribers I get, the less people watch. I mean, I can't control that, nor do I care. I just point it out because it's just really surprising. But maybe that means I'm being silenced, or maybe people think I'm just irrelevant. I don't know. But those of you that are here that do care, I need your help. I need you to help share these things, let other people watch it, and think for yourself. And most important, stop being afraid. Stop being silent. Evil thrives when good people do nothing. And I hope you will change that. So thanks for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next time.